Okay. Yeah, feel free to take it away.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Chloe. For those I haven't met, I went to NYU. I just graduated this May. I majored in econ and math. I'll be starting as full-time next month as an investment banking analyst at PIBC in the infra and power group. Well, this is our first seminar, and it should be focused on how do you succeed as a virtual intern. This summer is kind of weird. This is uncharted waters, but I hope, and we have some speakers, Kwang, Teresa, David, Wen, and Howie from last summer who were fellows, and also are starting full-time next month or soon as well. So I hope everyone experience and advices will help you guys navigate this the summer a bit better, and feel free to ask any questions at the end. So first I think we have Wen who can talk with us, talk more about expectations for interns this summer.
All right, thank you, Chloe. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Is anybody in the West Coast who has to get up super early?
Yeah.
You are? Oh my God, until yeah. It's like 6 a.m. for you, right?
No, 7:30 right now.
Oh, there you go. All right, so hi everyone, my name is Gwen. I interned last summer at RBC Capital Markets in the Technology Investment Banking Group, and I'll be returning there full time starting next month already. So I'm happy to be here to share some of the experiences that I have with you, and just chime in if you have any questions. So what to expect in a virtual internship? It's like an odd time. You guys have to do the internship virtual, but it's up to you to make the most of it, right? So for the firm, they base their offer decisions on two factors, right? The internal factors that you see and the external factors. For the internal factors, the firm is basically asking the question, do we want this person on our team, right? Is this person good enough to join our team permanently as a full-time employee, right? And for the external factor, the firm is basically asking the question, can we afford to get this person on our team even if we like them, right? So there are a lot of factors that can go into this, like the markets, economy, deal activity, that can affect whether the firm will have the capacity to accept you as a full-time employee, right? So if you see these two types of factors, you notice that you can only control the internal factors, right? You can't really control the macro factors, so it's better for you to focus on yourself, what you can do, what you can improve throughout the internship to make the firm say, yes, we want that person to be on our team, right? So some key expectations for summer interns that you'll see on the slide, the below portion of the slide. The firm will look for interns who can have the combination of a good attitude, high work quality, and a good fit with the team, right? So for attitude, first they will look for somebody who is highly responsive and reliable. So how does that translate to you? What you can do to meet or exceed these expectations? Especially for a virtual internship, I think it's crucial for you to be responsive because they don't get to see you face to face. So if you don't answer to the emails promptly, you'll get the impression that you'll probably be distracted or watching TV somewhere in your house, right? So it's really important for you to answer emails promptly, especially for a virtual internship. I worked at investment banking last summer, and one mistake that I made during the first week of the internship is that I tend to work with one team and ignore all the emails that were coming from the other teams that I was also a part of. So it's important to answer emails promptly, even if you don't get to work with that team immediately after you answer the email. And second, show intellectual curiosity. They want somebody who's curious, because if you're curious, it shows that you're actually genuinely interested in the work that you're doing, right? So how do you show curiosity? By asking questions, asking thoughtful questions. And I want to emphasize on the word thoughtful, because you don't want to ask questions just for the sake of asking questions. You have to think through and ask questions. For example, if you're an IB, if they give you a project and you don't know the context, it's good for you to ask that. If you're in grid research, if you see a piece of news that can affect a stock, do a little bit more research and then ask the team, like, what do you think about this piece of news, for example, to show that you're curious. And learn from mistakes, learn from others. Don't make the same mistakes twice, 3 times. Write down what they tell you to do so that you don't forget, and you have to come up to them and ask questions that they already tell you what to do. And learn from others, right? They want, employers want a team where individual members can learn from each other and improve upon each other. So it's good to show that you're willing to learn and improve throughout the internship. And one thing that is not on the slide, but I want to emphasize, is you have to show the positive attitude, right? Show that you're happy to do the work even if it's busy. Show your willingness to help them out. So always be positive. That always works. And for the work quality, the second part right here, I feel like for a virtual internship, this is one of the most important things, because they really can't judge your attitude or your fit perfectly if you're not with them face to face. So by showing them that you have the ability to complete the work perfectly, not perfectly, but really well, really shows that you can do the work and you're there, you're with them. You're good enough to join them full time. So meet the deadlines, be organized, triple check your work, go above and beyond assigned tasks. So these might sound generic, but they really do work if you put like thoughts into it. Meet deadlines. It sounds like a really simple advice, but really do try to meet deadlines. And if you can't meet deadlines, communicate with them early on and set a new deadlines instead of waiting till the end and 30 minutes before the deadline and be like, hey, I can't really do it, right? So don't underestimate the amount that it'll take you to do something. Try to realistically estimate the time that it'll take you and communicate with them, right? Over communicate. Communication always works, right? And triple check your work. Just don't send them stuff that have a lot of mistakes, especially mistakes that can be avoided if you check your work multiple times. So be mindful of checking your work and submitting stuff that don't have a lot of mistakes. It's okay to have mistakes, but don't make like very obvious mistakes that they already told you about it or you can avoid it. Be organized. I feel like for a virtual internship, it's really hard because you don't get like the professional environment as you would if you go work at the firm face to face. So build a workstation that will make you, that you have the mentality that this is work, this is not home, right? So be organized, have a to-do list, and build a workstation that work for you. Go above and beyond assigned tasks. I feel like one of the good ways to do this is to anticipate what people will need and try to do that, like be interested. I know, just go above and beyond. And if anybody has any other idea, feel free to jump in. And for fit question, I feel like this is the hardest for virtual internship, especially because, again, that you're not with them all the time. So like if you're not with them face to face, you can't really see, for example, the nuances in the office, like the informal conversations in the office. So you don't really get to see like who you click with, who you don't, or the work style of each person. So you have to make a conscious effort to get to know people. So don't let the circumstances of a virtual internship deprive you of the opportunity to get to know your team members, basically. So it's pretty common for interns to ask people out for coffee. So you can continue to do that even if it's online by setting up meetings, online meetings or something, and participate in team events, happy hours, and all that. Just make a conscious effort to get to know people on your team. I think that's a good way for you to show that you're fit to the culture of that team. That's all I have for this slide. But just try your best, and yeah, if you have questions, let me know.
Yeah, and I'll take over the second one, which is what you should expect in a virtual internship this summer. So basically, I think depending on your firm, the firm that you're working for right now, you might have already started your internship. You might be starting in the next few weeks. Your internship might have been shortened to like 5 to 6 weeks or even 4 weeks at this point. But I think it's just really so important to sort of know what to expect in the internship. So I think first, training. So I think it's pretty standard across the board that you get some sort of formal training and presentations along with Q&A. And these are either outsourced or in-house. So I got last summer, it was face-to-face internship in person. So I got 1 week of training, and it was outsourced. So it's like sort of similar to training on the street. And I just sort of learned the basics of like modeling and like, the best practices in the team for the team. But because the internship is virtual this summer, that part might be longer now, and it will be counted as the minimum requirements when the team evaluate you for the full-time offers. So with that said, it's like the training will be longer, it will be more sort of intensive, like you'll be more exercises from your part, be sort of more, instead of like, I used to have throughout the internship last summer, I used to have one event every week, one event every week, like lunch and learns and things like that with the interns. But, now it's virtual, you might have more of those events organized by HR or, just even the team, your own team members. And depending on your group and your firm, they probably will be less work than usual because of, the whole COVID situation. There'll be less deal activity and lower engagement from clients. So because of that, you will, if you really depend on the sectors in the group, you'll probably be staffing a live deal, maybe not, but you definitely get your hands on, the training, and, the presentations and stuff from HR and from the group. So, and second, and then in terms of the work that you will actually be doing, so as an intern, you probably expect this already, mostly ad hoc, simple work tasks like looking up data points, numbers on SNL, Bloomberg, building comp table, profiling companies, updating, fixing, completing basic presentations, pitches, sending out calendar invites, proofreading models, fitting in calls with clients. I think these are very basic and, to start you on the job. Like I used to, my first week, I did like, basically like these tasks that I had to build comp table, profiling companies and things like this. So these will be sort of, if you get these small tasks done well, that you sort of earn your trust, make and show that you're reliable for bigger tasks. Then after you finish these tasks complete and, of good quality, then you'll be staffed on the actual live deals, for example. And so with that in mind, these, even though it seems super simple, but Mickey Mouse sort of perfunctory in a way, but make sure you do this really well. Don't make a mistake. So, as Gwen said, print, highlight, review, and repeat. I don't know if, HR allows you to have printers at home because of security reasons, but make sure that you check everything. Sending emails, like check, like reply versus reply all, CC versus BCC, these basic Office, Microsoft, like presentation and Excel things, like make sure you know how to do that right. And if you don't, ask for help at the beginning when you're still on the formal training. In terms of work, I also, and if you're staffing like you, that's another whole story, like meet deadlines, things like that, meet deadlines, over communicate with your team members. For me, as I think a lot of firms also have interns run a project. I don't know if that will be their case this summer, but you basically team up with a few other interns to make a group presentation to pitch for a company, or depending on the prompt. But for me, last summer was, I had to propose an M&A idea for in the infra and power space. So I teamed up with two other interns we didn't have a lot of time, but midway through an internship, the HR said that, oh, here's the prompt. So we worked on that and presented in front of the group and some other group members as well. Like, the corporate banking group also was there, the infra power was there, and some traders were there. So, these is, I think it's more of a minimum requirement, just like the formal training, like check the box kind of thing, and not really consider your work product, but, just don't mess it up, because they can still say that you actually sort of understand what you're talking about, or have an interest in really did your research or not. So it really shows if you didn't do any work and just kind of wing it last minute. And last is networking. I know this summer, it's virtual, so HR will probably prepare a lot of video networking opportunities with senior people in the firm who now have more free time to talk with the junior interns. Because my team was really lean, so I had opportunities to meet with the global head of investment banking. But depending on your firm, this summer will probably be more packed with those video networking opportunities. So take advantage of that. And also, of course, your own networking agenda. So if there's someone that you want to talk to ask more questions, to establish relationships going forward, make sure you reach out to them and also respect their time. Because, if you're in trading, don't reach out during the day or something like that. But feel free to do, please do that. And since this will be virtual, you're probably doing, that more anyways, because people generally have more free time. And also, last but not least, I just want to emphasize that I think because of the virtual format, the first and the second, so training and work, will be more of the priorities, and account for more in the final decision whether they give you the return offer or not, because of less time, shortened duration of the internship, and also because you will not be there in person to actually network and see if you're fit for the team. So make sure you do the training right and deliver your work. But that's what I have. Feel free to ask any questions, and last year fellows, please add in if you want to.
All right, so my name's Kwong. I'll be taking over this portion of the presentation. Why do interns lose out on offers? A little bit about me. I recently graduated from Georgetown University and will be, last summer I interned at Barclays in the technology division, and full-time I'll be an investment banking analyst at a technology boutique in Washington, D.C. So, so there are several, reasons why interns can lose out on offers. So the first part is EQ/politics. So, so there's several components to this that either you can control or you cannot. But for the parts that you can control, interns who lose out on offers are often too slow with resources at hand. So, for example, FactSet, PowerPoint, Excel. Obviously, you guys are incoming interns, so there's more room for leniency from senior, managers as well as analysts. But at the same time, put yourself on a higher level of expectation, and that way when you reach and even exceed those expectations for mastering these fundamental resources that will be utilized over and over again in your full-time career, you'll definitely be able to impress, your supervisors as well as, other bankers that you work with, during your internship experience. In addition to that, the inability to check in emotionally intelligent way, or, have kind of reach out to seniors to check in on you, is something that I think a lot of people miss out on. So there's a certain level of kind of connecting on an emotionally intelligent level with your managers as well as other analysts and directors, even that you have reached out to, that you connect with throughout your internship experience. I've seen this go wrong where you are either too over kind of overreaching your kind of status, or not doing enough to get their attention and kind of let them see you as, the choice to be incoming full-time analyst. In addition to that, you can also maybe getting too comfortable in your role as an intern. So what this means is that, obviously in a virtual internship, there's a lot more leeway for you to kind of relax yourself, especially if you're doing it at home, so home setting. And this can lead to kind of being too relaxed, too casual, which then can lead to you not performing well enough, not performing to the standards needed by the team when you actually do enter full time. And this can lead to a whole domino chain of, bad results. So this is something that you got to keep in mind of as you work from a more comfortable setting, such as your home setting. In addition to that, poor stress and frustration management, especially attachment, to full-time offer, feeding into feelings of negativity or habits of complaining in office. So obviously this applies more when you're actually in office, but at the same time, you can also develop these feelings or these mindset, in virtual internship as well. For me, I have definitely, seen other interns who lashed out at HR kind of during a, midsummer review, to when, they are asking for question. This particular individual started really aggressively asking, what will the salary be, bonus. Obviously, there was some pent-up frustration, but it's definitely not the way to go to try to get a return offer, or even if you don't want to continue with the firm, to make a good impression by doing so. So the second portion is fit. So, it's on your part to try to, present yourself as the best fit possible for your team. One of the most common flaw or, pitfall is having too high of an ego, not being sociable, positive, kind, not smiling, being angry, or, kind of exuding a negative aura all the time, and lack of commitment to the group. So obviously for a virtual internship, it's really hard, since you're not in person, to try to express, good qualities, good virtues to your senior management. But at the same time, be proactive and eliminate these kind of pitfalls in your own kind of interaction with the group. Not asking questions. This I see a lot of times in interns who do not get return offers. Of course, there's a line of asking too many questions or asking the wrong question, but you're interns, so there's a big room for leniency. So technically, there is no wrong answer to ask, but of course, always do your research before asking questions. However, at the same time, don't be afraid to ask questions, because this shows intellectual curiosity and that you are committing to fully understand what your group is doing, throughout this internship. So how, in the same line, how long before asking question, who to go first, talk about it from analyst perspective, help people overcome fear. So this is, I think, what I said before, if you don't do your research ahead, or asking kind of really irrelevant question, they'll definitely bite back on you. As analysts, they work on their own deals as well, so they need they need their own time as well. So be considerate of their time when asking questions. And finally, when interns don't know how to handle bigotry, ideally, so obviously in a lot of banks, they have a senior mentor who can help you navigate issues. And if not, and the problem persists, you should definitely take charge and go to HR to report any of this really serious issue. And of course, don't just keep it in yourself. Definitely reach out and discuss this with your peers and as well as senior management. And finally, most important point, most people lose the offer because they had one extremely strong naysayer. So obviously in virtual internship, it can be easier to kind of avoid having confrontations or interaction with this naysayer, but also really hard to identify or try to see where you might have gone wrong in a virtual internship. So just be your best self in this virtual internship, be proactive, and that will definitely help you on your way to guarantee a full-time return offer.
Hey everyone, so I'm Teresa and I graduated from NYU Stern and I study finance and accounting. I interned at Evercore last summer and I'll be returning there full-time in a month. So I'll be going over the behaviors to avoid if you don't want to risk not receiving a return offer. And some of these are kind of obvious, but I felt that we should just go over them just in case. So first off, don't take too long to reply to emails, messages, and calls. There shouldn't be really an excuse to not respond quickly, given that you're always in front of your computer. I guess the only time would be if you're in a meeting and you're not really able to respond. But in that case, you should have given your teams already a heads up that you're going to be out of pocket due to a meeting or something like that. Make sure you don't wake up too late and you're late for scheduled meetings, calls, and things like that. I think a good rule of thumb is to arrive to the meeting maybe 5 to 10 minutes early, just in case there's any technological difficulties. And also in person, if when that time comes, you don't want to like get lost in the office and things like that. Don't dress poorly and always have like have a professional background environment for video calls. So definitely don't wear like pajamas. Like sure, if you want to wear shorts on the bottom, that's fine. But at the top, at least make sure it's presentable and don't have something inappropriate in the background. Of course, this is pretty obvious, but you don't want to miss any deadlines. With that said, I think this I should mention before, usually they tell you to do something and they don't always give you a deadline to do. And that you should be asking, oh, when do you want this? When should I be expected to have this done? And if you don't seem to be able to meet that deadline, be sure to give them a heads up and be like, oh, by the way, I might not be able to get it done by this time, but I'll definitely be able to get it done by this time. And it's always good to overestimate the amount of time you need to take to do it, because if you say you're going to get it done by noon and then you actually need to get it done by 3 p.m., like it's not a good look. So always overestimate the amount of time you need to take to do something. Don't make the same mistakes repeatedly. Like someone else mentioned before, like always write down the suggestions and advice someone's given you after getting feedback on different deliverables that you've been done. If you do keep making the same mistakes, it obviously seems that you don't really care, you're not trying to improve yourself. And I know like a common mistake is just attention to detail, which is hard to improve because sometimes you just gloss it over, you don't really see something like so small that's wrong, but definitely just try your best to like thoroughly go through your work and make sure you're not just messing up like a decimal point or if it's in millions versus billions and things like that. This is really important now because it's virtual, but don't forget to mute yourself during calls if you're not really needed on it. More likely than not, when you're on calls now for your deals, you're just going to be taking notes for the deal team to read afterwards. So you're most likely never going to be talking on calls as an intern. I didn't really get to talk on calls as an intern, so just make sure you're paying attention and writing as many notes as you can, because those notes do come in handy when you do have to do different deliverables and figuring out what the client wants and things like that. Don't bypass junior analysts by going directly to senior associates, VPs, and MDs. So I guess in this thing, it's like always go to your second year analyst before you send anything out to the deal team. More likely than not, the second analyst is going to check it over and then they're going to like send it out to the team. There may be times when you do send it out to the deal team, which I've had to do before, and just make sure like it's good to go before you actually send it out, because you definitely don't want your MD to see something stupid that you sent out. Another thing you shouldn't do is gossip, brag, complain, or talk about compensation with the team and other interns. So definitely don't talk about how much you're making or that you're not happy with your bonus and things like that. Like I know now, like it's already set what you're getting from the internship, but given that you do work full time, like never like complain about how much you're making, comparing your bonuses and things like that. But aside from just talking about compensation, like definitely don't trash talk any of the other interns, any of the employees, like anything like that. It'll come back to bite you, and you definitely don't want to have to deal with that and kind of have to explain yourself. And then lastly, this is pretty obvious, but don't leak any confidential email and materials to people outside the firm. You don't want to have to deal with HR and compliance and things like that. And I don't know if you guys saw like a post on Wall Street Intern or whatever on Instagram, like someone sent in an Evercore screenshot of a poll and they weren't supposed to do that. And then HR found out the next day and then they got in trouble. So little simple things like that you might think is harmless to share with like finance Instagrams and things like that, like you definitely don't want to risk it unless you want to already start off on a bad foot with HR. So those are just like the general do's and don'ts for your internship, but feel free to ask any other questions on what you should and shouldn't do in the panel.
And I think we have Howie for what you should do.
Awesome. Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure what's wrong with my camera. It looks like I'm just looking up all the time, but I guess I'll just go ahead. So since internship this year will be virtual, we recommend you guys to purchase a printer or dual monitors, whatever equipment that you think would make you guys faster at your work, be more efficient. The printer is really essential. Can help you guys double check your work, right? And this is just iterating, repeating what other people have said before. Always double check, triple check your work. And after that, if you guys have time, after work time or on the weekend, review or learn some new Excel, PowerPoint shortcuts or techniques. I know that most companies, have you guys go through some training, so use those materials to learn more on Excel, PowerPoint. I know Wall Street Prep has some really good modules on both Excel, PowerPoint you can use. And based on my experience, I recommend that do not overlook PowerPoint. It's really important. As an intern, I imagine 60 to 70% of the time you'll be working with PowerPoint slides. So, being efficient at PowerPoint could really, really help your work here. And if possible, ask your analysts, the first year analysts to see if you can see some past examples on the company's PowerPoint slides or Excel files, just so what is generally expected from your work. Each bank has different formatting for their PowerPoints and Excel, so that could be really helpful for you. Just to not reinvent the wheel or not making any funny looking Excel files or PowerPoint slides. And then again, right, use your printer after you finish your work, print it out, highlight the work, and if possible, and if this is not something that confidential, ask somebody to take another look at that work for you. Maybe your parents, somebody that you live with, just so that you're not leaving out any obvious mistakes. And then before you email somebody, the analyst, or get on the phone with them to chat about a project, write down all possible questions you might have for them, and then obviously take notes when they give you more info on the project. You don't want to send out one set of email for a set of questions, and then 5-10 minutes later you send out another email asking them more questions. That wouldn't look good on you. And then finally on this point, write clear and concise emails to them. And then I put in this advice too is make sure you CC the right people. That's first, right? And then you CC people in the right order. It's not alphabetical, right? So make sure I believe this depends on the bank. But for example, Guggenheim, we do analyst, associate, vice president, just from the bottom to the top, if you will. And maybe at your bank is reversed, right? Maybe at your bank is the managing director, vice president, and associate analyst. Make sure you ask that, and going forward you see the right people, and people in the right order. Um, and then for attitude, just a summary of what other people have said. Be online, be reliable. Don't show up late. Check with your team before you log off. It doesn't matter what time it is. Midnight, 1 a.m. Send them an email and say, hey, you guys still need help. I'm here if you guys need anything. And if they say, no, we're good from here, then you just log off. Then be very proactive, responsive to emails. Don't wait too long to answer the emails. Always take notes, right? Because as an intern, I believe that's where you can contribute the most for the team. Is in conference calls, take notes, diligent notes. That can really set you apart from other interns. And then ask questions. Obviously you want to do some research before you ask questions. You don't want to just ask any questions. But if you have some urgent questions, definitely go ahead and ask them. It's better to ask some questions and clear everything before you go and work on your project. And then confirm timing of deliverables. When they give you a project to work on, ask them when do you want this to be done by. And then if you have some other projects going on with maybe a different team, tell them, hey, I have this A, B, and C project going on as well. Do you want me to, work on your project first and then move on to those A, B, C projects, or you want me to, maybe prioritize the other ones first? Ask them. They should know, or if they don't, they will reach out to the other teams to let them know that you're also working on the project. Then over communicate. This should be common sense. You're right. If you are working on something, you have a deadline, let them know. Update the seniors about where you at, expect the time to finish. And then if you think you will not be able to deliver your projects on time, tell them as soon as possible. Don't wait until the last minute. And then keep track of your mistakes. Write them down. Do not repeat mistakes. That's I think that's one of the most important things here to avoid. It can easily annoy people. It just shows that if you repeat the same mistakes too many times, shows that you do not care enough, or you're careless, and wouldn't look good when they decide a full-time offer. And then ask for constructive feedback, right? Do not be defensive. People want you to grow. People want to help you. And based on my experience, most people want to give you a full-time offer. It's yours to lose. So ask for constructive feedback, and then get to know people. Obviously, coffee chats will be difficult. Now your internship is virtual, but try your best to maybe ask your analysts, the ones that you work with the most. It's like, hey, you have like 15 minutes call, free time that I can get on the phone with you just to know more about your background, your work experience. Why did you want to work in TMT, healthcare services, etc. And then finally, have a good attitude, right? It's not rocket science how they decide if they want to give you a full-time offer or not. It's not a black box, with mysterious formula. It just do you have a good attitude? Do you know some basic finance concepts? Are you willing to learn? Do you ask good questions? And it's like beating a dead horse at this point, but have a good attitude. Based on my experience, people can tell very early on if you have a good attitude or not. And in my class of interns last year, halfway through the summer, we kind of know like 70-80% for sure that these are some people that will not get offered because they don't have a good attitude. So smile. Doesn't matter what time it is. Ask them to see if you can help out, and be willing to learn. Be willing to take constructive feedback from them. With that, I'll wrap up my slide.
Thank you, Harry. So that's what we have prepared for everyone. Now let's move on to the questions for speakers with the panelists. I see that David is here now. So hi, David. Yeah, so I would love to ask you a few questions about your internship last summer and have you share some experiences and advice with everyone. So the questions are on the slide. So that's on how much preparation did we do before the internship? What were the office culture, relationships with other interns and coworkers like? How busy were you during the summer? What key projects did you work on? What else did you do? And when you were on the bench, how did your mid-internship review go? What did you think went wrong and went right? And what did you receive and not receive, or why did you receive or not receive a return offer? And why did you accept or decline your offer?
Okay, cool. So let's go through this. So the thing about preparation for the internship, so with SEO, I did a lot of stuff with Excel. That was really the bulk of our effort. I'm not sure if that was really the right way to prepare for the internship. Every firm will do their own things, but most interns are abysmal with Excel. I was not, but it's just not really a part of the work that you're trusted to do as an intern. That's usually what I saw. If I could do it over again, what I'd probably prepare for is making sure that I'm sharp with the the PowerPoint shortcuts, and making sure if there's anything to do to prepare yourself for like the emotional intelligence piece or like office politics, whatever you want to call it, that's probably where I'd put the bulk of my efforts. Excel, it's not so that it's easy, but if you can just get a baseline proficiency, if you ever even have to deal with it much, that will more than take you where you need to go. As far as the office culture and relationships with other interns, I had a weird kind of like seating arrangement. My last name was W. So I was sitting with the sophomores in a quad of 4, and then the rest of the interns were like, especially like in my grade, were in like a big bullpen. Thinking about the relationships with other like interns, it was cordial. I didn't feel like there were any real issues. It was more just, is everybody, I'm not sure if everyone always has a vested interest. Like everyone is like still competing, so you just have to be a little bit careful, right? Don't say or do something stupid. And you ideally do not want to put yourself in a position to rely on somebody. For example, if somebody comes by your desk and is looking for you, they're not necessarily always going to tell you that the person came looking for you. That could be because they're just busy. It could be for a number of reasons, but you always want to make sure that you have to rely on as little people as possible. But yeah, I mean, just put yourself out there, right? When it comes to I don't know, a Zoom call, right? They're gonna have Friday Zoom calls, or happy hours, whatever you want to call it. Make sure you go to that, because they're trying to judge you on the interpersonal piece. And I'm not sure how much you even get to know your interns. Maybe they'll organize something, but for the analysts, the associates, and et cetera, make sure you put yourself there so people can get to know you. How busy was I during the summer? I was very busy during the summer. I was probably clocking about 70 to 75 hours a week. They did not let us come in on the weekends, so that was over a 5-day span, which was pretty tough. It wasn't the end of the world, but it was not ideal. There's a spectrum, I think. Some people will get out at like 2 a.m. every day, or maybe later. Some people can get out at like 10 every day. So it really depends. I think the one thing I probably would, I guess you guys can't do it in person, but like if you can get out at like 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30, I probably would not. Just because it's like if the analysts full time are working till 11:30 or midnight, I'd probably just stick around. It's just one summer, so just stick around, do a little extra work. I think people will appreciate it, even if they tell you, or you can just go home. Like I remember one person in a different group, the VP or the staffer would always be like, guys, it was like 9:30. He was getting ready to leave. Like you guys can go home. But the way my friend described it, basically the look in his eyes was he's really just looking to see who's gonna get up and leave. He didn't FaceTime. I think still matters as an intern. Someone else people can put their own input, but I think it definitely does. How many key products were they working on? For me, it was a kind of a spectrum of things. There were a lot of one-offs where the staffer would put you with one person on a product that lasts maybe 1 to 2 or 3 days. What else I've never heard the term the bench, so if someone wants to clarify, I could talk about it, but I'm not sure what a bench is. Key products, we were too busy to do any sort of final project where you present to the team. Other teams have the opportunity to do so. If you have a final product, make sure that you really hit a home run, because they're really going to use that to evaluate you, especially today. I can't really speak about that as much. The mid-internship review, it was okay. I think when I think back to my mid-internship review, I didn't really see it as particularly constructive, because it depends on the firm. But if you have mixed reviews, it's a little bit difficult to figure out kind of where you're at, and where it might be coming from. So when I think about the mixed or the mid internship review, it's almost too late to even to try and get that feedback, because then by that point a lot of opinions are formed. In the ideal world, you're really good at communicating with the people that you're working with and making sure that you're in the ideal world, you've communicated and gotten feedback and have worked to improve on the things that they gave you in the first few weeks. So the mid-internship review should go better. And you should go in there kind of just collaborating, thinking like, okay, so this is what I think I'm doing well. This is what X and Y person said, but right now I'd love to hear what you think. Going forward, I should be working on just confirm what you think I'm doing well. Ideally, you want it to be collaborative. Thinking about the summer, so I left the firm. I did not get the offer, and now I'm at Citi. When I think about what went wrong, I think a big piece of it was learning how to ask the right questions. If you ask, how am I doing? You'll get fine. Fine is not gonna help get you to where you want to be. And for me, it was really probably one analyst that I just could not get by, who effectively submarined me. I'm not really going to talk about the one analyst piece, but thinking about all my friends who got or did not get offers, the ones who did not get offers, pretty consistently, it was one analyst did not like them and they could not get by them. So make sure you're very, cognizant of that. If you think there's an analyst where things are not working out as well, or you might even be on the border, I would recommend being very direct. So if things if it's like a few weeks in, or maybe 2-3 weeks in, even though it probably shouldn't even be waiting that long, make sure you're getting feedback from that person and make sure that you put an emphasis and say something along the lines of, I can't really do the best job or the job that you would like if I don't know where I could need to improve. Right? So I'm not going to push back if you give me feedback, and I'm not going to judge you. But if you can give me any sort of constructive things and things that you would like to see me do, for example, getting better with PowerPoint, or moving with being quicker with Excel, right? I'd probably be pretty direct about that conversation, and also highlight the things that you think you're doing well. So I know I'm really quick with like Like, I'm really quick with FactSet. I think we're getting along reasonably well, but do you think maybe you'd like to see me work quicker with PowerPoint? Something like that. So it's a productive but direct conversation. You really cannot afford to let people kind of rush you off when you ask for feedback, because then you're going to be playing guessing games and you can really hurt yourself. And fine is not acceptable feedback. Now, thinking about, accepting or declining, I was going to try to leave anyways. If they ever ask you, and they asked me this, if they ever ask you if, like, we really enjoyed working with you, would you take the offer? The answer is yes. The reason why is they judge you on a reversion rate. What that means is they track the rate at which they extend people offers and they accept. So if they think you're not going to accept, you will lower their reversion rate and they will look bad. So they're just not going to get there. I didn't know this. So when someone asked me, I wanted to be truthful. I genuinely was not sure because I didn't love my summer. And that did not help my case. So learn from my mistake and just tell them yes, even if you hate it, even if even if you're looking for something else. It is much easier to get the offer and just explain that you're looking for something else than to explain that you did not get the offer. It can be done. I'm living proof. But it didn't make my life any easier. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, so because we're going a bit over time, so I just wanted to say that we're probably going to be 15 minutes, so we'll probably wrap up by 11:45, and we'll still have a Q&A session at the end for the fellows to ask questions. With that in mind, does any of the speakers feel like the need or should like share more about this, answer these questions on the slide, or do you guys want to just directly answer the questions from the fellows? So I guess I'll does anyone want to share their story first before we move on to the Q&A part? Ian? When? No? Okay.
I have a question actually because David asked about it, right? Like being on the bench means that you're not gonna be working like 24 hours, right? There's gonna be time when there's no work. There's gonna be time when there's nothing else to do and no one's watching you, and you could be watching Netflix and stuff, right? So how do you think about going? How do you think about being productive in that sense when literally there's no one watching you and literally no one's giving you work? And that happens in banking, right? Even myself, like I don't work 24/7, but when that's the nature of the business. When you sprint, but then when there's nothing going on, then you're just sitting there.
So during the internship, we were given a summer project. So I worked on that when I didn't have work with other teams. Like there's a group project that I think a lot of firms have for interns to do in groups to present to them at the end of the internship. So I did that. And also I feel like it's a good way if you're on a deal. It's good to just look back on materials that you didn't go through when you have free time to catch up on the deal or have more context about what you're doing. I think that's a good practice as well.
Yeah, I agree with what Gwen just said. I'll just add in, if you have some free time, reach out to some analysts and see if they can, get on like a 15 minutes chat with you, get to know people. Obviously,
Yeah.
hopefully it's not going to be, 10 a.m. or, the 12 a.m. or at midnight, you have some free time. They'll reach out to people at that time, but if it's during the middle of the day, trying to do it like that.
Yeah, I can probably add to this too. I think when I didn't have a lot on my plate and already finished, then I just reach out to other people because like the goal for me was like to be able to work with everyone on the team, so that I don't have a naysayer against me at the round table at the end of the internship when they evaluate for full-time offers. So I made I sort of like just went around, asked everyone to see if there's anything that I can help them with.
And on the same note, when you guys do have your mid-internship reviews, one thing that I got advice on during the summer was like a few weeks before they actually submit their reviews of you, you should reach out to like the people you work directly with on your deal teams and say, oh, can we grab some coffee? I would love to just hear some feedback you have from me so far on the work I've done, so that you have some time in between then and the actual review to improve yourself, so that it does hopefully improve your midsummer review. Because I think a lot of it can be fixed within like a 2-week span. Maybe it's attention to detail, maybe it's setting expectations, maybe it's communication, and just hearing that a few weeks before your actual review can really help you improve really quickly.
Also, just pick the person very carefully, right? You really want to pick the people that you know you've done a good job with. So ideally, it like at the maybe 2 or 3 week mark. I mean, it really depends, but by the 2 or 3 week mark, you should have a very clear idea of who you've killed it with, and those should be your reviewers. If you have to pick people that you're iffy with, go for it. You're kind of out of luck. But you really want to pick people who you know you're doing well with, so that you can make yourself look great.
Yeah, and I think Teresa and David brought up some really good points. You definitely reach out to your deal teams, people that you're working with the most of the time during the summer, and kind of let them know, kind of have a feel of how they're thinking about you. And then also, I don't know if this is at every bank, but um, for my internship, I was giving a summer mentor who was a second year analyst at that point, and you know kind of during the 6th or 7th week of the summer, I kind of heard just some lobby info that if you're doing something wrong, or if they think it would not give you an offer, then your summer mentor will have to sit down and talk with HR about it, right? So just kind of keep in touch with that person, or you can have like an unofficial mentor. Keep in touch with that person, and later have the internship, reach out to them and see if if they've been talking to HR, or if they have any concerns for you. Those people usually um, you know have some very direct info on how you're doing or how you're performing during the summer. So.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
I think that.
not brush them off, especially even if you don't like them that much. Like they're gonna check in they're gonna check in with that person about you. So make sure that that person really likes you, understands what's going on, even if it's not an amazing relationship. Stay on top of them.
Yeah, and I also wanted to add to this, which is so I try to schedule sort of like a coffee chat with your design mentors every 2 weeks to check in and to ask for constructive feedback, and also do that if your deal team as well, and don't wait until the midsummer internship and review to do that. So I got assigned to a director who was my mentor, and so she was also so she was wait, what? But yeah, so I basically schedule a coffee chats with her every twice a month on once every 2 weeks on Fridays afternoons when she was like free and stuff. So I did that, and also did that with my associate on the deal team and then another director on the deal team. So those 3 people were the ones that really vouched for me. And I also and also, if there's the one that you don't really vibe with, try to talk to them. If you don't get to work with them, at least try to talk to them and just ask more questions about themselves, and don't just make it about yourself, so that they just feel better when you try to know more about them. And so at least it will not be that person at the table who say, oh no, I don't really like this person, so I wouldn't, enjoy working with them full time. And for the fellows, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and shoot them away, and we can answer as many as we can before 11:45.
Hey, I just have a quick question. So maybe there are a lot of more people not in banking. So people, for example, I think that one person, Young, I think you are in financial reporting, right? And some other people are doing like equity research. So Mentor, do you have any, the people here, do you have any kind of question, any advice for the people? Because it seems like most of the comments are for people in banking. So that's want to bring it up. So if you guys are not in banking, so people doing different stuff, so feel free to ask different questions.
We got Leon on the line to talk about any system trading stuff. So feel free to ask any system trading questions as well.
So in trading, like you wake up very early, right?
So I actually had a question that can be applied to as a whole, but it is sales and trading related too for my second question. So I guess the first more broad question was, I think there's been a pretty big emphasis on like FaceTime and like getting in front of like as many people as you can, at least like within your team, at least so that like one, you have some people that are on your side possibly, but two, like getting to know like fit. Like I guess like with the virtual format, like do you guys have any like recommendations as to like how that might change / like what are some things to look for in terms of like using FaceTime most effectively? And I guess my second question is more in terms of this like midterm review that we've been talking about. So I know that a lot of programs are either shortened, and I know that with like at least my firm specifically, within it's a rotational program where we have like 2 rotations, like 3 weeks each. We haven't really gotten any like feedback in terms of like how they'll be kind of structured, just because there are 2 rotations. So I guess like if like say there's like midterm reviews like in the middle of a 3-week rotation, like how would we even like go about like trying to get feedback if there's been so little time, etc. Thanks so much, everyone, again, by the way, for taking your time this morning for this panel. It's been super helpful for sure.
Caitlin, do you want to answer that, or anyone in SMT want to chip in?
Yeah. Hey, Sean. So if I understand your question correctly, the first part is how you can increase your interactions with the team, right? And then the second question is how you can prepare for the mid internship reviews for different rotations, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So I would say the first part, how you can actually connect with the team. So like previously, I would be in like a fan of like so anyway, so before you start the internship, you should always set you should always ask them what the expectation, like for example, how often do they should you and the intern manager catch up? Is this like weekly or like monthly? And then you should like schedule a call with every single member of the team. So if they tell you, yeah, we can do like weekly catch up or like twice every week, yeah, that should be fine, and you should yeah, respect their time as well. So I'm not sure about banking. Like when you schedule a coffee chat, then it sounds to me like it's very formal. So if you schedule, hey, can we schedule like a 30 formal coffee chat? Like when I heard the word coffee chat, I would feel, oh my God, this is so formal. And like, I just don't feel like that comfortable, like as being a friend when an intern asks for like a 30 minutes coffee chat. So I would recommend like you build relationship with the person, not just over like 15 or 30 coffee chat, but in everyday conversation. So this like a networking method is called the drip method. So you drip every like a little bit every day to build the relationship. So for example, if it's Friday, you ask people, hey, what's your plan for the weekend?
I mean, you should like see if they are actually like very busy at that moment, or they are actually like relaxed on the Friday, like for 5 minutes, and then you kind of like ask them about their weekend plans, and then yeah, just like a small talks like every day, and then like on Monday you can ask, hey, how was your weekend, and then you can tell something about like what you did. Oh, over the weekend I went hiking here and there, or like I went fishing, like just like a small talks that keep you, that makes you like become a like more interesting person in their opinion, in their eyes, and they like when it is very stressful, or like when like they're so bored at work, they might want to hear something that is refreshing, and yeah, it's like they, you kind of like breathe a new um like new things into their life in a way. But like yeah, just do like small talks like few minutes every day besides the work, so you keep the conversation interesting and not just work related, and it's not also too like intense of like a formal like 15 or like 30 minutes catch up. Yeah, it's just my, in my opinion. So that's how you actually keeps the interactions with them, right, without FaceTime. So you have like a small call with them every day, like a few minutes. Yeah, and try to like understand their try to like engage with a conversation and knows what their interest is. Some guys might be into like sports. Premier League is reopening, I think. NBA probably. So kind of know the cultural, and then know where their interest is, and then dig into the interest, and then try to make effort to understand the interest and engage in the conversations. They will like that. Like seriously, they don't always want to talk about work. They want to talk about their interests as well. Yeah. So that's, I think that's how, that's what makes you different, because I'm pretty sure like all the interns here, all the fellows here are very good at what they do already. So I'm very confident about your yeah, your work quality. I hope that I'm right about that. So what you want to say now is you want to be a person they want to be with, right? For the next 2 years or whatever. So you want to win their hearts, win people. Yeah. And the second question is on the mid internship review. I think there will be like a paper, a sheet of paper, and there will be like different criteria, like uh, how is your responsiveness, how is your work quality, and then like teamwork, etc. And I would say that teamwork is a very important part. Um, Oh yeah, one story I want to tell. So when I reached out to my alumni before, like he advised me, yeah, you should be very proactive. You should like come up with tasks that you should do. And then I did the same thing. But then in my internship review, the guy actually, my intern manager actually said that it was good that I come up with different tasks, but it would have been better if I actually cooperated with the interns, with other interns, and then did the tasks together. So I would say that teamwork plays a very good part in it. So if you are thinking of something fun to do, or like a interesting project, and if you are working with some other interns, then yeah, talk with them, and then go to the intern manager and say that, oh, this is our projects. Yeah. So you can say that you come up with the project, and then you think that you and the other intern will be very interested in helping out with this project. What do you think? Yeah. So do play. Yeah. Do act as a team player. So yeah, I'm pretty sure like the different criteria in the mid internship review will be quite similar to each other among different banks, and you can like easily tell which criteria are on that sheet. So if you can if you have some inside info to someone who actually like review people before, and you know what bullet points are on that midterm sheet review, then yeah, you can just like target on those. Yeah, it's pretty standard for the review.
Yeah, I also wanted to bring up like the small talk. Wait, sorry, is anyone asking questions or am I?
No, I
Okay.
was just
Yeah, so okay, well, I want to go first then. If you're a woman and you're in banking or in, in finance, and you feel like kind of like, oh, what is this, like keeping up with the Joneses kind of game, and you don't share any common interests with like the male coworkers or the male interns, I think the one thing for me is just like be open about it, like the as in like be open minded about it. Like they like sports, they like they have different interests, but at least like keep asking questions like, oh, how does that work? Like what is like the Premier League? I don't even, at this point, I don't even know what that is. Like what is that? Like, okay, like when is it showing? Like should I watch it with you guys, or, you know, things like that. And also, bring forward your interest. So I love restaurants and I love eating out in New York City. So, and, you know, when I started talking more about food, then, you know, everyone was interested, and not just the interns, also the associate on the DO team. So we bond over that. So my point was that I know, like, as a woman in finance, it really depends on your personality as well. If you feel kind of uncomfortable in sort of a male dominating environment, make sure that you also try to keep an open mind, first of all, and also second is that also try to be yourself, like be genuine. Like if you have an interest in something and would love to like share with more people about that, then do that as well. And they wouldn't judge, honestly.
Yeah, I would say that keep a list of good restaurants around so you can recommend to them, and like you like naturally bring it to the conversation. Like, oh yeah, over the weekend I went here, I went there. It was very good. Like they have very good Kobe beef. They might ask, oh, what is Kobe beef? Like stuff like that, like that. So we are from a very different culture. We're from like more Asian-based culture. They might be interested in what we know and what we are into as well. So yeah, do show who you are, but do respect their interest as well. And then like, yeah, try to present who you are, and then talk about what you like as well. And at the same time, like discover who they are. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have more questions, feel free to unmute yourself. Okay. So I guess I think that's pretty much it for the first seminar. I know we went a bit over time, but everyone is available to like answer any questions if you reach out or anything like that. So just thank you so much to you guys for, you know, being available this morning and participating and, you know, sharing experience and advices. That was really helpful, I think, for me as well, and also for the fellows.
And thanks to all the speakers. I think your experience is very helpful, and I think it's all like uncharted territory at this point. When it comes to kind of like, oh, like how are we gonna get the offer, and actually like whether the firm's gonna decide to give offers or not. So I think stay in touch with the support network that you have, like the fellowship program, is very important. I think we're not here. You're not here by yourself. You're here together with everyone, and everyone can give you advice on how to approach a conversation or how to talk to someone, right? So little small things like I just think about like playing like Dota, playing games, like smaller things accumulate, and hopefully like week by week, if you guys can just like journal like what you learn or like who you talk to on your accomplishment every week during those 5 weeks, that would be like super helpful, right? So things like what we do in our fellowship program, like, oh, like we need to have talked to 3 people during the program. So why don't we set up the same system for the internship? Like, oh, I must talk to at least 5 people within the firm, or like someone else within the team, or like catch up with the interns and all that. So make it a system, and definitely that I think that's gonna pay off. Okay. What? That's it. That's it. You guys just want to stay on here and just like talk about random stuff. I actually have lunch plan. Anyway.
I think our fellows are very smart already. They don't
Yeah. What's up with alum? Yeah, feel free to ask any questions or even to chat or anything.
Don't be shy.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Is anyone in New York City at the moment? We might have like a fellowship meet up next week, if possible. In New York.
Come to Singapore.
In New York in the next few weeks, if it's reasonable. I mean, what's it like in New York? It doesn't look amazing on paper.
It's hot. The weather is nice.
Okay.
Every opening.
Okay. All right. So
Are you in New York, David, or you back in
I'm in
Boston?
Connecticut still because like I had a bunch like just from my viewpoint, I'm looking at Instagram and I'm just seeing like my friends getting tear gassed and I'm like, you know what? This probably is a better time for me to stay home. and then you have COVID and then cities open up and I just feel like it's just going to be a brutal second wave, especially since we have the trains. It's just a packed space where people are just going to sit in, probably not even have the right protective equipment, and just give each other the virus. So I'm like, maybe this is the better time for me to stay out the city.
Sure.
Yeah, we were just thinking about like doing a gathering of 10 people since that is approved in New York by Kilno. But yeah, it's gonna be either on Friday night or Saturday night. We try to do it next weekend, so which is gonna be before all the fellows start working and start interning, so less busy for everyone as well. So if you happen to be in New York City, and we happen to have a group of less than 10 people, we can absolutely do it. Just thinking like a picnic or something like that.
If we do a picnic, will there be like a limit of 10 people, or we can do more?
I'll have to ask my building, but I think it should be fine because yesterday there was like a family throwing a party for a 1-year-old, for their 1-year-old birthday or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I'll double check that.
If we have more than 10, I guess we can do a picnic and then like break into like 2 small groups next to each other. Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine either way. So it's just putting it out there to see if anyone interested.
Yeah. So let's send out the invites, and for those who can join because they're from other states, we can do like Zoom call to each other. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you guys FaceTime us?
That's great.
send you the photo of the food. Wait, who's cooking and who's like what's the like? Are we just
do hot pot? Just do
yeah,
hot
hot
pot.
pot?
It's easy. Yeah, it's easy. Just put all the food that nobody has to cook. Seriously.
I love cooking, so I can cook. But if there is something you guys want, then you can do that. Anything.
Okay.
Yeah. I think let's send out the invites and see the number, how the numbers come out, and yeah, let's see what people want for the food. So
Yeah, we
this
can do
weekend,
potluck.
yeah.
Next weekend, right? Today's Saturday already.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, next weekend. I mean next weekend.
Are we allowed
Alright.
to bring +1?
No.
I'm asking for Chloe.
Yeah, I mean, if we have like not too big of a group, then I have to ask in the building, and then I'll get back to you. But let's send an invite to everyone.
Yeah, let's.
And if you're not in New York City, we can FaceTime.
If we have +1, it means that you have to double the original list, right? So unless the original list has 5 people, and then we bring +1, then it's gonna be 10. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, let's
Yeah.
communicate on WhatsApp.
Yep. All right. See you guys.
All
Have a
right,
good
bye
one.
guys.
You guys, bye. Have a nice
Bye.
weekend.
Bye. Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Bye.